there's a Long Island connection most people don't realize about this case that are familiar with it. And I refer to this wanted poster because people who look at this, it might remind them of Colin Ferguson, the Long Island Railroad shooter. And he was actually a suspect, wasn't he?
Yeah, in 1990, because this sketch went out, this is actually a guy who asked the astrological sign of the 4th victim in Central Park in 1990.
Okay.
Colin Ferguson could almost have used this on his driver's license. He was reported to be the Zodiac killer to the task force by a woman who worked with him on Long Island.
Okay.
And she said, I know a guy, he's crazy, he babbles about religion and God, and he talks about guns and how he's going to kill white people and how everyone is against him, and he takes the train, the Long Island Railroad train, right through East New York, blocks from where the shootings took place. Right. And he's the guy. He looks just like the sketch. But the police never interviewed him. The reason they never interviewed him was they want to access his fingerprints first. Right. If you're a suspect, Danny, if you become a suspect for this, they would have checked to see if they had fingerprints. If they had fingerprints of you on file and they didn't match up with the ones that he left all over the New York Post letter,
right. That was it.
Then they wouldn't bother talking. Why talk to you? You can't be the guy.
Right.
So they did that, and they eliminated him because they got his fingerprints from the Immigration and Naturalization Service. Right. The irony is that even though he hadn't bought the gun yet that he used to kill people on the Long Island Railroad 4 years later, 3 years later, excuse me, the irony is that even though if they had interviewed him and if they had searched his Brooklyn apartment, they wouldn't have found the gun. The strange thing is that the cops going to the INS and asking for his fingerprints made the INS start investigating him. Right. And when they did that, that's one of the reasons he said caused him to kill people on that train.
Were you aware of his name at the time when they were investigating him for this crime? I mean, was Colin Ferguson a name that was in the back of your head?
No. In 1990, no one knew from Colin Ferguson except the people, those unfortunate enough to work or go to school with him. Right. However, in 1990, there were 1 or 2 DD5s, the police reports, out of about 7,000 tips. Right. And since he was eliminated quickly by fingerprints, I never heard about him. No, but he was a ghost in this investigation. And indeed, he had not committed a crime then. Right.
Right. Now, the real culprit was this guy.
Yeah, this is much more what he looks like, and the resemblance to Eddie Seda is distinct. If you draw a mustache on Eddie Seda and put a hat on him, you can see the distinctive arched brows, the cut of the chin, the nose, the lips, even the ears. Very similar.
Right. I don't know if we could capture this, but here he is after. This is one of his court dates after he was caught?
Yeah, yeah, that's him in court. Now, he's clean cut now. When he was arrested, his hair was all in a greasy ponytail, and he was unshaven, and he looked the part of the Zodiac killer. Right. But this is after he's wearing a polo shirt, shave, shower, haircut, and a nice boy next door kind of smile.
Now, how did he get caught?
He got caught because his sister wanted to have sex with her boyfriend. Okay. At least that's what he says. Basically, he had a sister named Chachi. That's her nickname, of course. She was 17, and she brought a boyfriend in the house. And Eddie is very religious. Right. Very religious. He doesn't believe in sex before marriage.
Supposedly he didn't even basically leave the house except to go to church and an occasional shooting.
No, he only went to church on Sundays. Right. And he would go out late at night, though, when his mother and daughter would go to
mother and sister.
His mother and sister would go to sleep. Midnight or after, that's when Eddie would go out dressed in black, and he'd be prowling, stalking various victims. But he stopped that, and he didn't want anybody coming into that apartment, which is on Pitkin Avenue in East New York. Right. He didn't want anybody coming in there, and he didn't want her having sex with anybody. He acted like the man of the house. Right. And he was very morally indignant that she would try to do something like this. Right. And when her boyfriend didn't leave, bang, he started shooting, and then when she confronted him, he shot her in the rear with a homemade shotgun, one of his arsenal of weapons that he made with his own hand.
Led to a police confrontation.
And shootout.
And shootout.
Oh, yeah. He kept the cops pinned down for about an hour.
When did